Hello, welcome to HEC Movie Makers Academy Movie Reviews. I'm Erik Calderon.
And I'm Neelou Goodarzi. And we just watched The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, Them. The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby is a collective title for 3 films, Her, Him, and Them. So we just watched the 3rd film in this installment. It was directed and written by Ned Benson and stars Jessica Chastain as Eleanor Rigby, James McAvoy as Connor, and Viola Davis as Professor Friedman. The story follows a couple in wake of a huge tragedy, and we follow the characters of Jessica Chastain and James McAvoy, Eleanor and Connor, going through this tragedy. And when Jessica Chastain's character, Eleanor, tries to commit suicide and fails, she moves back in with her parents and leaves Connor, and he's just left. He's confused. He doesn't know what's going on, so we kind of follow him trying to find her, as well as find out for ourselves what's going on and why they separated.
The film was probably shot in New York, I'm not sure, because there wasn't very much information online. It grossed $66,000 on the first weekend. I'm guessing that the budget was probably in the million or below, maybe 500,000 to a million. Another, kind of like Kelly and Cal, very simply shot. The film was, I think that the director did a great job putting this film together and telling the story. I wouldn't mind watching him and her, but it was very slow.
Yeah.
It was like super slow. I mean, this film...
I agree. It was very slow paced.
Yeah, very
I thought
slow.
I thought I was going to fall asleep at some point. It did keep me interested to a certain extent, but at one point I'm just like, tell me what happens. I don't want to sit here anymore with the clues, like teasing.
And that was a great job that the director did, was keeping you hooked with that one thing. Why did they break up, and why did she try to commit suicide?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in the opening scene we see them, which that was my favorite scene in the film, right, was the opening scene. We see them in the restaurant, and they're doing, in Spanish it's called cuenta corrida, right? I don't know how it's called in English. What do you call it in English?
Dine and Dash?
Is it called Dine and Dash?
Dine
Okay,
and Dash.
Dine and Dash, right? Where they don't have money to pay the bill.
So they just ditch.
They ditch it. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool because it really told you a lot about the characters and their personalities and what they like and what they don't like and how fun-spirited they are and free-spirited. And then when you take them to the breakup, you're like, well, what in the world happened?
It's definitely a huge contrast.
Yeah. And then that keeps you hooked.
Yeah, and I think when you think of suspense, you think of action movies, thrillers, but I think that this movie had a huge amount of suspense in it, just because of the little clues that they would drop here and there as to why this happened, what this tragedy was that we don't really know about.
Yeah.
So that did keep me hooked, despite it being so long.
Yeah.
And tedious
long.
At times.
Yeah. I think it was over 2 hours. I think
it was 130 something minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So
about 133, I think.
Yeah. So I think 2 hours and 3 minutes, huh? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty long.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's what kept us hooked, was kind of like what I didn't like about the story.
Okay.
So.
In what sense?
Well, it's like, it's frustrating, right?
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on, and then you're seeing this, and you're like, why'd they break up? And then it's very slow. For me, I like action movies.
Yeah.
So. But maybe there's more of a chick flick.
I feel like it's a lot more complex than that. I think it's a little bit of a, I don't know, I feel like it has more emotional depth than, your regular chick flick. But I don't think we got to know the characters well enough to really understand or rationalize or justify their actions to where I saw myself judging people like Eleanor Rigby for leaving Connor. We didn't really know what was going on to begin with.
Yeah.
So we feel like we're missing something the whole movie. Yeah. And then even at the end, I feel like I kind of left and I was like, what?
and I'm not sure, but I know that the director's main goal was so that you would see him or in whichever order you want, but there's 3 films, right? You've got him, her, and them, or her, him, and them, however you want to put it. And you're supposed to see all 3 of them.
Exactly.
And maybe by seeing all 3 of them, you really get to know the characters.
Maybe that's what we were missing.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Could have been, but I don't know if I'd want to sit through 2 more of those.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
It's just not my style, I guess.
It's slow.
So, very slow.
Yeah. What did you think about the? It's funny because after you see the movie, you really understand what happened and why it happened and why they broke up and all that, and we're not going to spoil that because that's kind of the hook of the film.
Yeah.
But there's one scene where Connor owns a restaurant, and this kind of made me a little upset, especially after finding out what happened, where he kind of has an affair.
Right.
And I don't think that scene fit in like very well with what happened. So that's where I kind of, after seeing the film, I was a little upset because that kind of stuff wouldn't happen. I don't think so. I don't know.
I agree. No, I agree. That kind of threw me off. I feel like it contradicted kind of the mood and the pace of the film.
Yeah.
Because we want to know about Connor and Eleanor, and then they throw in this random girl, which kind of had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
I don't know. She worked at the restaurant, but I didn't feel like. I agree with you. I just didn't feel like it fit well.
And then she tries to go out and do the same thing, and I thought that was really stupid. I mean,
it was kind of, it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Honestly, just because I just felt like we see these two characters and then they're doing this like weird thing that has nothing to do with like the rest of what's going on, or this missing part that we're trying to piece together with the little puzzle pieces that Ned Benson was giving us. So, yeah.
And then we don't have a very good time frame of I mean, if this was like, if they were separated for 2 years and this happened, that's kind of understandable.
Right.
But if they're separated for a couple of months or even a month, that kind of stuff would never happen.
Yeah.
It's not believable.
Then we didn't really know. Yeah, the time frame was confusing.
Yeah.
Especially with the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Because, okay, was this a month ago? Was this 3 months ago? 9 months ago? A year ago?
Yeah.
We don't know. But
So,
go ahead.
what did you think about the technical aspects of the film, like the cinematography and the lighting?
In terms of cinematography, I love the lighting.
Mhm.
I love the contrast of the lighting within the scenes. Specifically, when Eleanor visits Connor in his apartment, or she has her way in, but he doesn't really know that she's going to end up there. He doesn't know how she got in, but he's sleeping on the couch, and she's walking through the door, and through the threshold of the door, there's this dark shadow kind of over her, and then we look back at him, and it's a little lighter.
Yeah.
He's really peaceful. He's sleeping, and so she puts the covers over him. And then it flashes back to in the past, to whatever that time frame was that we don't know, where they were happy and they were together in that same apartment.
Yep.
So the lighting was really interesting.
You like the lighting, huh?
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really well put together. I mean, I thought the directors and the filmmaker and the crew and all that did a great job. The lighting, I liked the camera work. I liked it because it did show the characters, and it showed them, and it got us to know them better.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot, even though it was really slow.
It was really slow. But although we did get to know them better, I don't think we really got to know them well enough to where we could really understand where their actions were coming from, in my opinion. I thought it was a little superficial, like the amount we got to know them.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's why we have to see the other two movies.
To get to know them.
Yeah, because maybe in the film Her, I mean, I don't know because we haven't seen them, but maybe in Her we get to know her and her perspective, and in him we get to know him and his perspective.
And then maybe it makes a little more sense.
Maybe it does, but then that must be like 6 hours of
films that I'm not sitting through.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't sit through that. Yeah. So you wouldn't recommend this to?
I would recommend it to a specific audience, for sure, a very specific demographic. Older people, maybe a little past young adult age.
Yeah.
Because I think you need to, relate to it, at least a little bit, in terms of any kind of tragedy or love thing that you might have gone through. And then you need to be able to sit through the whole thing without falling asleep.
Yeah.
Although it does keep us interested, and there are a few little comic relief points throughout the film, I think that an older audience would appreciate the complexity of the emotions, the complexity of what's going on, half of which we don't know and half of which we don't find out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the film is good for older people that have, and maybe that's their target audience. The filmmaker's target audience is probably just that. It's like targeted towards, I would say, people in their 60s. Maybe retired people.
Okay.
I would say that because, I mean, you got to really have a lot of free time to sit around and watch 6 hours of films. And so and people that have experienced a lot of, the older you get, the more tragedy you experience.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, and I think people would enjoy seeing that only to get to know the characters and to
Right.
feel for them.
But I would watch it over again just for the acting, because I thought the acting was incredible.
The acting was amazing. Yeah.
I thought that Jessica Chastain and James McAvoy did a great job, and
They did. They did.
Viola Davis and Bill Hader's characters were really funny. So I
Yes.
enjoyed that contrast with the sadness and the tragedy.
Yeah, I think they did a great job. Yeah, I think we didn't talk about the acting.
No, we didn't.
So what was it that you liked about the acting?
I felt like it was so real
Yeah.
to the point where I was like, am I watching a movie anymore? Like, it was
Yeah.
very real.
Yeah.
There was no, although we didn't get to know them well enough, and I
Mm-hmm.
said it was a little superficial, the
Yeah.
relationship between the audience and the characters. I do think that we got to know, I mean, their acting was very, very deep and very real. It was very
Yeah.
raw, the emotions.
Yeah.
And I love the funny characters because it kind of woke me up.
And I think maybe that's what also kept me involved in the film, because I think the acting was amazing, so you believe it, and then with that little hook, you're wondering what happened,
Exactly.
and because their acting is so good, and you're just trying to figure it
Yeah.
out. I mean, I think the director did a great job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you're not in that specific demographic and you just have an appreciation for great acting, you would
Yeah.
definitely enjoy this movie.
Definitely. Well, we love films. If you love films, please visit the Houston Community College Filmmaking Program. Call Erik Nitzberg at the phone number listed below. We are brought to you by HCC TV and the Houston Community College Filmmaking Program.
To see our full review, you can go to youtube.com/HCC Movie Makers Reviews.